Thanks, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Thanks to Scott and Cheryl for setting this up. There's the view from NerdVittle's headquarters for everybody to see. I'm going to keep this really simple and sweet today. I have a rule of my own that I never show more than 12 slides. And then I thought I'd spend a couple of minutes walking through the incredible PBX GUI interfaces just so you can see the differences, and then we'll take any questions anybody has. So one minor correction, I'm not the CEO of anything. I build software and write articles about it on NerdVittles, and that's about all I do. We're going to talk about briefly 3 different packages today. Incredible PBX, the ISO, which lets anybody install Incredible PBX with the free PBX 12 GPL modules. You can either use our ISO, or we have documented how you can actually redo the ISO and customize it to your particular business, or if you're reselling, you can put your brand on it, no charge. Then we're going to spend a little time on our new GPL product, Incredible PBX for Xevo. This is actually a Canadian company that has been around almost as long as free PBX. They started about 10 years ago. They have a huge following in the European market and the Canadian market, obviously, but were, unbeknownst to me at least, in the US market until about 6 months ago. And we'll walk you through briefly what we've been able to do with that platform. And then last but not least, today on NerdVittles, we announced the release of PBX in a Flash 5, and we'll talk just a little bit about that and what the future holds. All 3 of these products you can run on standalone PCs, virtual machines, such as VirtualBox or VMware, or you can run them in the cloud. Let me start with the Incredible PBX ISO, which is based on Scientific Linux, although we have installers for Ubuntu and Debian and the Raspberry Pi platform, if any of you are interested in those. It uses Asterisk 13. It uses, as I said, the free PBX 12 GPL modules, and all of the comments suggesting that a module was not compatible or whatever, all of that stuff's been removed. So again, if you want to build the ISO up to resell, that's a great platform for you. It has a pre-configured firewall. Basically, the first time the administrator logs in, the firewall locks everything down to their IP address, and then we have simple little utilities that'll let you add IP addresses. It's based on a whitelist. The rest of the world can't even see your PBX, and it's rock solid. We also distribute fail-to-ban with it. We're not the biggest fans of fail-to-ban, only because high-performance servers like Amazon EC2 can easily overwhelm a PC and render fail-to-ban all but useless. As many of you know, the Incredible PBX feature set includes text-to-speech apps like weather, news, click-to-dial, voice dialing, where you can say the name of someone and it'll call them, speech recognition, and of course Google Voice. all of the incredible PBX products now support Google Voice with OAuth 2 authentication. As I said, the perks for the VARs are it's free branding. Asterisk is always compiled on the fly, so every time a person installs a new version of the ISO on a desktop or in the cloud, they get the latest release of Asterisk. The license is mostly GPL3. As you know, there are close to 1,000 products that make up PBXs like Incredible PBX. Most of those are GPL3, although not all of them are. The cost is free. There are no gotchas. That's the main GUI that comes up when somebody logs in with a web browser. As the administrator, they can go in and run the traditional FreePBX 12 GUI interface that all of you are familiar with. Second, I want to talk a minute about Incredible PBX for Xevo. This has been under development for about 4 months. The operating system is Debian 8. It uses the latest Asterisk 13 packages with a Xevo real-time implementation of Asterisk. We've added Google Voice OAuth 2 authentication, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and snapshot setups. And what those are basically is a snapshot of a design of the PBX with Xevo. And the snapshot records, and then when the end user installs the software, they get whatever configuration you've built with the software. Freebies with Xevo include an endpoint manager, high availability, redundant servers, and upgrades every 3 weeks. Again, there's no cost for any of them. And it also comes with our pre-configured firewall as well as fail to ban. Same GPL3 license for most of the components. Again, the cost is free, no surprises. That's the main screen you see when you log into Xevo. Again, it's a real-time Asterisk implementation. It is not a code generator. So to give you a point of reference on a system with 200 phones, if you made a change in your dial plan to add another trunk, generating the dial plan to support that in the free PBX world that many of us came from could take several minutes. With Xevo, that's an almost instantaneous process. I mean, tenths of a second. Xevo's a traditional GUI. There are a lot more features and options in Xevo than there are in free PBX. It does take some getting used to. We've taken most of the pain out of it by pre-configuring the SIP defaults and adding about a dozen trunk providers. All you have to do is fill in the blanks with your credentials. Last but not least, we announced PBX in a Flash 5 this morning. It runs on the Debian 8 platform. It is PBX in a Flash, and it's now powered by FreeCX instead of Asterisk and free PBX. It's a commercial offering with a free license option. With the free option, you can make 8 simultaneous calls with a SIP trunk, and it supports 5 user web conferences. That typically is a configuration that's more than adequate to handle an office of about 25 people. The feature set, as this says, is everything you can imagine in unified communications. And again, in the free version, you get virtually everything that's offered in the commercial pay-as-you-go versions. Those that aren't familiar with 3CX, you typically pay license fees based on the number of simultaneous calls. So if you need more than 8 simultaneous calls, or you need more than one SIP trunk, you can purchase one of the commercial options. This morning we also announced Google Voice for PBX and a Flash 5 running under 3CX. And we also documented how to add SMS messaging with Google. For those that aren't familiar with 3CX, it's another GUI. It's very simple to use. You know, if you've been in the VoIP business and used some other GUI, I can guarantee you can master 3CX in about an hour. It's that simple and very, very straightforward. They've got features that will let you connect soft phones from virtually any platform: Windows, Macs, iPhones, Android devices, tablets, you name it. That's all I'm going to say in the slides. I did want to at least show you the Xevo interface and also the new PBX and a Flash interface. So stand by just a second and we'll switch around. If I could remember how to log in. Well, that's great. Gotta love demos. Okay, moving on, we'll go to 3CX and take it for a spin. Here's the 3CX dashboard. You know, you would set it up the same way you do with any of the other GUIs. You'd add a trunk. Here we've added a Google Voice trunk through the Symonics SIP gateway. Then you add an extension. Then you create an inbound route to tell it to ring your phones or to ring a ring group. And then you set up outbound dialing rules. 3CX is a little different than what you may be used to if you've used free PBX. You actually specify the outbound rules using a couple of options. You can either use you can define the extensions that can use it, or you can define the number of digits in the dial string, and you can strip digits just like you did with free PBX. Okay, Scott, I think that's all I've got.
All right, that sounds great. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for question and answer. Give me 1 second to move out of that. Thank you, Ward, very much. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start the Q&A. We do have a few questions already sent to us, so I'll go ahead and read those off. And it looks like most of those, Ward, are are for you regarding these multiple platforms. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So let me find the first one here. So the first question that I have is from Van. Question is, we had a very difficult time using PJ-SIP with Vitelity trunks. Is there any documentation configuring Vitelity with PJ-SIP?
I think it would be fair to say PJ-SIP is still a work in progress. Our recommendation to most folks, particularly in setting up trunks, is to use the traditional SIP interface and leave PJ-SIP to use with your extensions. The beauty of PJ-SIP really comes in setting up extensions, because you can have multiple phones that can access the same extension at the same time. So you don't really get any advantages from using PJ-SIP with trunks. Again, the trunks, whether they're set up with regular SIP or PJ-SIP, they can still talk to extensions, whether they were set up with PJ-SIP or not.
Okay. And then Van had a follow-up question. We've been using port knocking and travel and man with great success. It seems that this makes fail to ban even less significant. Would you advocate eliminating fail to ban altogether?
You know, again, our approach to security is what people used to call in Aesop's fables the bundle of sticks. You know, the more sticks in your bundle, the harder it is to break. And you know, we don't turn anything away that puts one more obstacle in the way of those that want to do damage to you. So fail to ban is pretty harmless. You know, if it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, you still got 2 or 3 other layers of firewall protection. So our recommendation is to leave it turned on unless you got some really important reason to turn it off.
Great question. This question is from Lee, and I think this is one that we're all kind of asking, is how do we choose between the different platforms, PBX and a Flash, Incredible, Zevo, et cetera, or other versions?
Well, again, I think that depends on what you're going to be using this for and whether you're going to be reselling it. If you want a branded product that you can resell as your own, and again, we don't ask for any kind of fees. The only one that really lets you do that is the Incredible PBX GUI product. If you want to resell a rock solid open source GPL product with enormous support and free updates every 3 weeks, Zevo's the way to go. It's a little steeper learning curve. We've tried to take all the pain out of getting everything configured with these new Zevo snapshots. But you just can't beat a real-time environment. And particularly if you're going to run this in the cloud, going to high availability with 2 servers, for example, for our office, we have a Zevo server in Dallas and a second one in Seattle. And, you know, setting it up takes less than 5 minutes. And if one of them fails, the other one kicks in within 90 seconds. You know, you can't buy that. Well, in the free PBX world, it's $3,000. In the 3CX world, you've got to go to their highest platform before you get redundancy. So if redundancy matters to you and you want to stick with open source, Zevo's definitely the ticket. Having said all of that, there are those that would like to actually earn a living. And 3CX has been around a long time. They have almost 100,000 businesses that rely on 3CX as their phone system. That's not individuals, that's businesses. And I mean big businesses like McDonald's. They're looking for resellers. We have a terrific new product with PBX and a Flash 5. I would encourage all of you to download the free version today and take it for a spin. Like I say, it's rock solid. The one drawback of 3CX used to be the requirement for the Windows platform. That's now gone away. And the new PBX and a Flash 5 ISO is completely Debian 8 based, so there's no cost for the operating system. And I think you'll find the pricing, even for the commercial versions, is incredibly reasonable. And you know, you can't beat the support. 24/7 support on the smaller platforms costs a company in the neighborhood of less than $300 a year.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Well, hey, real quick, this other question just came in. So, can Xevo run on Ubuntu?
No, Xevo comes bundled with Debian 8.
Debian 8. Okay. Next question: does PBX on a Flash or Incredible support speech-to-text translation for non-Google Voice or non-Google voicemail?
You know, speech-to-text is an evolving product line. Google has tightened the rules, and then they loosen the rules, and I think it's going to be another 6 months before there are other voice recognition options out there. Right now, the Google rules are that it has to be for basically for research and development, not for commercial use.
Okay, got it. This question came in from Keith. How configurable are each of these platforms with third-party components like FOP2?
You know, obviously the free PBX platform has a lot more external components that you can add. I have not tried to install it on the Xevo platform yet, but I would not think that would be insurmountable. On the 3CX commercial platform, I think that's going to be considerably more difficult.
Okay. This question comes in from Lowell. Are there any tools to help convert from an existing Incredible PBX platform to Xevo? You know, if you look at the PBX and a Flash forum, we have documented a number of scripts to extract data from free PBX and take it to any platform you'd like. Having said that, I think for people developing systems for commercial customers, you're probably going to want to cut and paste from your existing setup and build up the trunks and the extensions on the Xevo side independently, only because the user interface is so different. Xevo does support a scripted methodology for creating users and extensions, and I think you'll find that enormously helpful if you have hundreds of them to build. Okay, great. This question comes in from, I guess it's Goran. I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce it. Goran, how long will Incredible PBX 13 have support?
You know, all of our open source products are supported on the PBX and a Flash forum, and we don't have any current plans to discontinue support in the foreseeable future. I think, you know, it's funny, when I was with the federal courts, telephones came under my jurisdiction, but they were something you really never looked at. I mean, we had phone systems that we had spent $250,000 on that lasted a decade or more. It's only in the asterisk world where people think in terms of a year or two. So, you know, there's feature-wise, there's nothing in incredible PBX that would cause you to have to move to a different platform in the next 5 to 8 years, unless something really dramatic happened in the Linux world that made it insecure. And with the whitelist-based firewall with incredible PBX, the odds of that happening are pretty slim because, again, most people can't even see your PBX. So the risk of somebody doing you damage is really minimized by the fact that, you know, you're not on the internet radar, as it were.
Okay, great. I saw several questions that were asking about virtualization of PBX and a Flash 5. And I know I'll let you address that, but I do want to let everybody know that we do plan on, Vitelity plans on offering our virtual PBX servers with this new platform option. So as soon as we get that into our lab and get that configured and running, basically once the interop's done, we'll do an announcement on that platform option for virtual. So do you have any comments on that, Ward?
Well, you know, first, Vitelity has been an incredible platinum sponsor of our open source projects and NerdVittles for almost a decade. I would encourage you to look at their offering. As far as PBX and a Flash 5 goes, it will run on almost any of the VPS platforms, DigitalOcean, Vulture. We even have some people in the PBX and a Flash forum that have gotten it loaded using cloud at cost, which, as you know, is a one-time fee. And some days it works great, and some days it doesn't work at all. So if that's your idea of a phone system, you know, go for broke. But you know, if it were up to us, we'd choose a provider like Vitelity that's going to stand behind the product.
Okay, great. Question from Ron: can Xevo run on Raspberry Pi 3?
There is an incredible PBX for Xevo that it was specifically designed for the Raspberry Pi 3. I would hasten to add that the Xevo developers in Quebec do not directly support the Raspberry Pi platform. It is maintained by an independent group in Paris, and you get what you pay for. So, you know, the version we've released works great. My recommendation to you would be, if you want to use it, don't try to upgrade it. There have been some problems moving from one release of Xevo to the next one on the Raspberry Pi 3 platform. If that's not important to you, it works great. You know, I've got one in my office that's been up and running for months, and it never hiccups.
Okay, great. So we've got a question. This is an end user, and he's asking, so based on all of these different platforms you've talked about today, what would you recommend for a small business with limited tech ability? So someone who doesn't have an IT person or a phone person on staff, which platform do you think would be a good fit?
I think any of them would be a good fit if you want support. You know, you can't beat 3CX. A year of free support is available, and after that, it's $199 a year. You know, if you look at the other options for phone support, Most of them start at about $150 an hour. So $199 for a year's worth of hand holding is a great deal.
Okay, great. We're just coming to the final few questions here, and we did get quite a few questions. So in respect of time, we're trying to kind of filter those a little bit. Let me see. And the question, this one comes from Jim. Can Debian be updated normally under Xevo?
The Xevo folks themselves update the Debian platform, the Asterisk platform, and the Xevo platform every 3 weeks. And they are seamless. An upgrade takes about 2 minutes, and your server's offline, for those 2 minutes. But there are not many upgrade procedures that I would risk my phone system with, but the Xevo one has been a godsend. I mean, their upgrades are flawless. Like I say, they've been doing this for 10 years. All the kinks are out of it. Their bug list is less than 40 days old. So, yeah, if you want a current version of Debian all the time with the latest and greatest in Xevo, it's definitely a platform that you ought to consider.
Okay, great. Question comes from Brian. What is the overhead to run each of these platforms? So how much RAM do you need to run in the different environments?
I would say as a minimum, again, on all three of them, people have made it work with the 512 meg image at some of these cloud providers. My recommendation would be at least a meg, and for 3CX, they recommend 2 megs, although we've got people that are using it with 2 gigabytes. We've got people using it with 512 megs of RAM that are having no problems. So part of it depends on how many users, how many active calls, all those sorts of things. But for an end user, or a Soho environment where you've got at most 2 or 3 calls going on at the same time, 512 megs and a 20 gig drive is probably adequate.
Okay, great. Question from Adrian. Does Incredible PBX have a RESTful API for adding extensions, configuring DIDs, etc.?
The Xevo platform does, yes. The Incredible GUI platform does not. There is an API for 3CX, but I believe it's only available in the paid versions. I don't think it's available in the free version.
Okay. Question from Stephen. What SIP stack is Xevo using?
Currently, they are not using PJ SIP, although there is an experimental version of it that's been published by the Xevo developers. I think they're considering whether to move there, but again, some of the growing pains with PJ SIP have given them pause. They are primarily a company that's focused on people that use their PBX in a business, and they're not entirely comfortable that the PJ SIP stack is ready for prime time yet, at least in the Asterisk world.
Okay, great. Lonan asks, is there a GUI IVR setup in the works for Xevo?
There is a GUI IVR in the works for Xevo. I can't give you a release date, but it is certainly on the radar of the developers, and they're coming to spend a week with me next month. So hopefully before Christmas, we'll have something to show everybody.
Okay, great. And this will be our last question. This one comes from Robert, and I think it's a good question. In general, what is the future of PBX on a flash and/or Incredible PBX?
PBX in a Flash 5 is a brand new product as of today that is backed by a company that supports 100,000 businesses. It's going to be around a very long time. The Zevo product is backed by a very large system integration company in Paris, and I think Zevo is going to be around for a very long time. The incredible PBX GUI, you know, a lot of that platform depends upon the work of others, and we will maintain it as long as it is feasible to do that with limited resources. But if that's a concern, I would definitely lean toward the Zevo or the 3CX platform.
Awesome. And then one last thing, I did see several questions were asking about how people could get pricing on the different platforms, you know, the hosting options that Vitelity has. We do have that on our website, and of course we are in the middle of redoing our website, so we'll have that refreshed here in the next couple of weeks. But there is information now that does have some information on the different platforms that we offer with the different hosting options. At the end of today's presentation, which will be here in just a few minutes, we will have contact information on how to get into our sales department to get those questions answered regarding you know, the 3CX, the incredible PBX, and all the different hosting options. So stay tuned for just a few more minutes and we'll have that. I'm going to turn it back over to Cheryl Huff so she can close us out. So thank you again, everybody, for your time. Great questions. I'm going to try to recover the questions, and we'll hopefully get those posted somewhere. I'm not sure if it will be with the video or on our website, but these are great questions, and Ward, I'll work with you to get the answers to those. So maybe we'll add them to a Zevo Incredible PBX FAQ or something.
Yeah, and thanks, Scott, for hosting this. I hope it was helpful to everybody.
Okay, Cheryl Huff back with you. Thank you, Ward. I don't think I've ever seen so many questions come in before on one of these webinars. So, well,
some of us stir up trouble, you know.
So I think it's safe to say people are very interested in what you have to say. Okay, everybody. I want to hit a special promotion for today's attendees. You have the opportunity to order an incredible PBX server before October 26th and receive special pricing of $24.95 a month plus $29.99 setup. And you will be able to contact our sales team. We'll have that information up here shortly. And next up in the webinar series, we're excited to announce that we're going to be having Paul Estrella, Project Manager, representing Elastics. And we already have that scheduled for November 2nd, which is, again, a Wednesday. Same time, 11 a.m. to noon, which is Mountain Daylight Time. We will email you a registration link in the next day or two, so you can go ahead and sign up for that right away. And as always, please pass on your feedback and or ideas for future Vitelity webinars, and you can contact me, Cheryl Huff, Marketing Manager. And you can see my email address there, cheryl.huff@vitelity.com. We look forward to getting that information. Okay, thank you, Ward. And thank everyone for attending today's webinar. If you have any questions, please again contact me. You will receive a follow-up email tomorrow with a survey about today's presentation and registration for part 3 of our webinar series. You can see our final slide is our information to contact our sales team, carriersales@vitelity.com. And then there is our number, 1-855-855-VoIP. And you can press option 1. We look forward to speaking with you and answering any questions you may have. On behalf of Vitelity, thank you for joining us today.